may have already noticed that the weather is looking a little rough today. We are having some terrible weather, and at least it's not cold. It's quite mild today. Here we are again once more with you live from the birthplace of the English language, which just happens to be, oh my goodness, I don't believe it. Is it possible? Yes, it is. It's England. Are you ready?
Hello.
Here we go again.
Here we go again. You're right, Mr. Duncan. Here we go again. And we're inside, safe from the elements outside. When we say the elements, we mean the weather.
Yes, the wind, the rain, maybe the hot sunshine. But today we have wind and rain. Even though it's rather mild, it feels very warm. A lot of people were watching at the weekend, Steve.
Yes.
And they were saying the same thing, that across Europe it was also unusually mild. In fact, in Switzerland, they have a shortage of snow.
Yes, I think in Italy as well.
There isn't enough snow.
There isn't enough snow for all those very rich Europeans to go onto the pistes and have fun. Oh, well, you don't have to be rich to ski, do you really? But you do if you want to travel to Switzerland from the UK. So probably if you live in Switzerland or in Italy or where there's a nice snowy mountain in Europe, you probably can ski quite cheaply. But if we've got to get there, well, Switzerland's very expensive, isn't it, Mr. Duncan?
I think it is.
It is to us. And it was always seen when I was a child growing up, if you went on holiday to Switzerland, you knew that family had lots of money because it was always expensive, even back in the 1970s.
I have to say, though, in the 1970s, growing up, I used to think people who had things like double glazing, if a person had double glazing, that means that their windows will supply or give lots of extra insulation. I used to think they were posh or very wealthy. The other thing as well, if people had posh toilet paper, I always used to think they were really posh. And, of course, if a family had a car, if you had a car, if your family had a car during the 1970s, you were considered to be quite well off. Because my family didn't have a car. In fact, we never did. And I never learnt to drive. And my father couldn't drive. And we didn't have a car at all. So I always thought that we were really, really poor and living in poverty.
You were.
Because we couldn't drive around anywhere. So I had to walk all over the place.
Good job you've got long legs, Mr. Duncan. Well, that would have made it more difficult for you. Maybe that's why you were so skinny when you were young.
I think it was.
Because you had no transport, so you had to literally walk everywhere.
I did. And I bought a bicycle later, but I used to walk to school. Nowadays, I don't know why. Even if your school is not very far away from the house, people will still drive to school to take their children and drop them off outside the school gates. We used to walk to school in most weather. Nowadays, parents won't allow that. They won't let their kids walk to school on their own.
In case
anything.
Something happens to them.
And I also think that the kids are a little bit spoilt as well.
You see, the school I used to go to was probably about 9 or 10 miles away, so I had to catch a bus. But I had to walk to the bus stop. And, in all weathers. We were tougher back then, much tougher. These kids today, they don't know they're born.
Well, but it's interesting how we perceive wealth. Certainly when you are at the bottom of the social ladder, and I think my family was pretty low down there. We didn't have much money. But I always found certain things that my friends had to be quite amazing. And I always thought it was a sign of their wealth. Another one was having one of those automatic washing machines.
Yes.
That you put the washing in the front. we had this old-fashioned washing machine, and you had to put everything in the top, and it took ages to do the washing. So
a twin tub.
Yes, a twin tub. Well, we didn't even have that.
Right.
We had just one single washing machine. You put everything in, and then afterwards there was a big thing at the top, a big set of rollers that would squash.
A mangle.
Mangle, yes. It would squash all of the washing and squeeze the water out.
Well, I thought you told me that your mother used to take her washing down to the local river. And that's where you used to have your clothes washed.
It wasn't quite as bad as that.
Bad.
It wasn't that bad.
Palmyra, I don't know how we've got onto this subject.
Wait there,
Palmyra
Steve, before we do the live chat, 1 week, Mr. Steve will get this right. Hello to the live chat, by the way.
Hello.
I'm Duncan, in case you haven't realised.
Mr. Duncan.
And this is Mr. Steve. And we are breaking the boundaries. We're breaking down those boundaries of what teaching English on YouTube is all about. And this is the best place to come. If you want an environment of English, this is the best place to be. So hello to the live chat. Very interesting today.
Mm-hmm.
First, on today's live chat, Sash. Hello to you and congratulations. You are first on the live chat today.
Not that it's a competition.
No, it isn't a competition, but I always think it's a bit of fun. A bit of fun to start everything off.
Sash, whose name doesn't trip off the tongue, does it?
No.
We were discussing before we came on live when we noticed that Sash was first.
I was going to say double sash.
What can we call you that's easier to say?
Double sash.
Sashi. How about Sashi?
That sounds awful.
Sashi or SS? Oh no, maybe not SS.
Double sash.
How about Sashi? Do you like Sashi?
That's awful.
It sounds like Safi. Safi, which is an English name. Safi. Some people are called Safi, aren't they?
Why?
Well, it's a girl's name.
I've never heard of that name ever.
Safi. Yeah,
Safi.
Safi. Yeah. Safi.
I've never heard of it. Never heard of that name ever.
Has anyone heard of the name Safi? Well, I have. Well, it's in the musical I'm in at the moment. So
yeah, but that's probably from 200 years ago.
True.
So it's probably a name that was only used twice in the 19th century, maybe.
Well, they're very close on Sash's heels was Beatrice, Paolo, and Palmyra.
Yeah. Hello, Paolo. Nice to see you here as well.
And Claudia.
Claudia is here. I suppose we should ask the question that we always ask every week when Claudia appears. The question is, you know what it is.
What's cooking, Claudia? What have you got in the pot? What's cooking, Claudia? Is it something spicy and hot? Is it something salty or not? Oh, Claudia, what is in the pot?
We don't know, but we'll find out later.
What is in the pot, Claudia? Please let us know on the live chat.
Well, Palmyra asks, are we talking about poverty and richness today?
No.
It just so happened that
it's a good subject.
We might do that on Sunday. Why don't we do that on Sunday, Mr. Duncan?
On Sunday, yes, I suppose we have a few things lined up, a few things planned for Sunday, but I think that's a good one. Living the wealthy life. I'm always amazed how fascinated people are with rich people. I never understand that obsession. And of course, everyone at the moment is talking about the royal family here in the UK and other people. We're not going to mention it because everyone is talking about it. I am not going to give it any oxygen. When you give something oxygen, it is a great way of expressing the fact that you are talking about something. You are allowing something to spread, maybe a story, maybe a person who is in the news. So I'm not going to mention anything else about that, but I'm always amazed how obsessed, especially the media, They're obsessed with rich people. How rich is that person? How much money do they have? How many private jets do they own? And I never understand that obsession. I really don't.
Well, it's just because they live a different life, isn't it, Mr. Duncan?
Anyway, we can talk about this
On Sunday.
Sunday. Yes, I think that's a good idea.
That's a good subject. Thank you, Palmyra.
Yes.
We will talk about that, but on Sunday. But of course, we could just, because when we come on the live stream, you know what my brain is like, Mr. Duncan.
Yes.
Just fires off in all directions, and we could be on any subject.
We could be talking about anything on Sunday.
Anything.
Anything.
We could talk about anything today, but I'm sure Mr. Duncan does have a theme for today.
We are looking at words and phrases connected to above and below. There are many ways of expressing things above and things below. We are talking about that. We can talk about anything, though. Maybe you have something that you want to talk about or listen to us talk about and express in English. So you could always say, Mr. Duncan, please talk about horses. I don't think we've ever talked about horses, ever. We've talked about words connected to horses, but I suppose you could talk about horses as in the sense of being powerful creatures, for example. Where Mr. Steve knows all about horsepower because of engines. So I don't know where that originated. I think it originated from horses that were pulling maybe ploughs. Now we're going back a very long time, so I think that term does derive from the actual strength of a horse, and I think somehow they've converted it into a measurement of combustion in an engine. What do you think?
I think it was. I think it did derive from the fact that, how much power is there in a horse? And when you think that a Ford Mustang, Mr. Duncan, has around 500 horsepower.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of horses.
That's equivalent. Would that be right then? It's equivalent to 500 horses.
It doesn't sound likely, does it?
No.
But then again, it's a 5-litre engine.
Think of the mess.
With 8 cylinders. So probably probably is quite powerful. I mean, can a horse gallop at, 200 miles an hour?
No, but 500 might. If they were all...
Well, that's what I mean.
If they were all feeling very excited. But imagine all the poop. Imagine all the horse poop you would have to clear up. Well, after 500 horses.
Well, the equivalent to that would be all the CO2 that's emitted by a large 8-cylinder engine.
Yes.
Anyway, we don't want to talk about cars.
But that's interesting because I was just thinking it must have been awful. Do you remember the days? Well, we don't remember it because we're very, very young people. But in the past, there were only horses and horses pulling carriages and trailers. That's all there was. So imagine the mess on the roads. There must have been so much horse poop.
There was.
I nearly said something else then.
There was a lot. It
yes.
used to be a big problem.
Yes. So you think about the problem now on the roads. Imagine all the poop everywhere. But if I remember rightly, I think people were required, and I might be wrong here, but I think they were required to clean up after their animals.
I don't think so.
I think a lot of horses and carriages used to have a little bucket, and that bucket would be used in case the horses decided to do a poopy.
Well, from what I've read, they couldn't keep stopping, could they? From what I've read, the streets of London were sort of just knee deep in horse poo.
Yes. So it couldn't have been very pleasant.
A few hundred years ago. Yes, I mean, there's only so much you need for your roses, isn't there?
Yes. Well, I suppose that's where it all came from. The idea of using poop on your garden and on the land. So maybe that's where it all came from.
Well, people used to chuck their own human poop out of the windows, didn't they?
They did.
Onto passing...
in some parts of the UK, they still do. They still do in some parts of the UK.
Pedro's here, and hello, Pedro. And people are asking, has Pedro managed to survive the the clashes that are going on
Clashes?
in Brazil. Yes,
Are
that's
there,
right.
are
The,
there clashes? Didn't
Yes.
they stormed? Now, I always remember at school doing an essay, and this is strange how these things come back. And I did an essay about modern buildings around the world, and I decided to use I believe it's called the Congress Building or something like that. And it was the most amazing building when it was actually constructed in the 1970s. It's a beautiful white building, and it has these large bowls on top. It's a very iconic building. I'm sure you know the one I'm on about. And it's in Brasilia. Brasilia, of course, is the capital of Brazil. But this week, a lot of people who were slightly annoyed, to say the least, decided to storm the building.
sounds familiar.
They did a lot of damage, though. In this particular case, they did all sorts of. I think they destroyed one of the buildings, but it's a very famous building, and I always remember when it was built many years ago. A very famous designer built this, constructed it, designed it, and it was built, and it was quite ahead of its time. It was seen as something that was ahead of its time and quite different, really, for a design of building.
Well, of course, we know what happened when Donald Trump lost the election, don't we? So no doubt it's a sort of a copycat affair going on. I mean, Pedro says that he wasn't there, but of course we know that he was there. We know, we won't say anything. We won't say anything.
I bet Pedro started it.
Exactly. So I bet he was there, with a storming up the steps. But we won't tell anyone because
there aren't any steps.
We don't want you to get into. There's always steps into big buildings.
No, this one doesn't have steps.
We don't want you to get into any trouble. So,
but the strange thing is that it looks like a building that I'm surprised has not been stormed in the past because it's all glass. There's lots of glass. I always think glass buildings look very fragile and vulnerable. So I'm surprised it didn't happen sooner.
the glass buildings are very unenvironmentally friendly. Modern buildings are all made of glass, aren't they? But they're freezing cold in the winter, so you've got to heat them up because the insulation is poor when you've got lots of glass, even if it's double glazed. And then in the winter, in the summer, they get really hot because they're like a greenhouse, so you have to have air conditioning. And they've got it right in hot places like France and Spain, where you have shutters. You shutters over the windows to keep the sun out.
Yeah.
And thus the building stays cool inside. It doesn't make any sense the way they build modern buildings. And when we watch these homes, when people are doing up their homes, aren't they? There's lots of programmes in the UK about people.
Some people are building their own homes.
And it's just glass all the way round.
But modern buildings, you see, that have lots of glass, they're special types of glass that reflect the heat, so they allow certain things in during certain seasons. But this particular building in Brasilia was built in the 1970s when glass was quite popular. Glass and concrete. We called it, do you know what they called it? They called it brutalism. Brutalism. It's a type of design of building. They were normally very bold and normally involving lots of concrete, lots of grey concrete. So brutalism was actually a form of building that was very popular in the I think it was around in the 50s and 60s, and also it carried on into the 70s, but then suddenly disappeared without trace. And there are a lot of people nowadays who don't like that type of building. In fact, many of them now have been demolished. They've been knocked down in London. But there are one or two old buildings that have this brutalistic design, and they're actually being saved.
I'm sure Prince Charles would have objected to them at the time.
But they're being saved. So some of these buildings that people don't like the look of are actually now being preserved because so many of them have been demolished.
Fascinating, Mr. Duncan, fascinating.
Well, I think it is fascinating because when you look at certain cities, and I think Paris is a very good example of a city that's not really been spoilt that much. I know there are one or two tall buildings now in Paris, but most most of the planning permission there does not allow tall buildings or large, monstrous buildings.
Not within a certain radius from the centre. Lewis will probably tell us that.
Yes.
I mean, there are lots of skyscrapers, but they're all on the edges of the city.
There are some very interesting buildings that have been constructed in Paris over the last few years.
Double sash is what we can call sash. We have got permission.
I like that.
But I like sashy. SASHY. Would you object to that? By the way, nobody's mentioned my shirt today.
Yes.
I normally get nice comments about my shirt, so I feel very hurt that nobody's said anything.
It's slightly sombre, but this is a shirt that we've had for many years.
We?
You have worn it before, by the way.
I've had this shirt for probably 20 years, if not
Yes.
30 years, probably.
But when we first met, I used to wear this shirt as well. I used to borrow.
That's why it smells a bit.
That's a strange thing to say. Okay.
I'm just joking. Oh,
Nice.
right.
Yes, I used to wear this when we first met. I used to borrow a lot of Steve's clothes. Sometimes I'd borrow his shirts, sometimes his underwear, but he never knew about that. He did not.
That's because you were so poor.
That's it. I still am.
That's true.
Come to think of it.
That's true, actually. But what are the scarabees? Lewis mentioned this word before. That the scarabees. Is it a certain type of people? The scarabees. So the scarabees disappeared. I mentioned that in connection with Pedro.
Okay.
And what was going on?
I have no idea.
Yes, that's a word I've never heard of. So you can teach us, Lewis.
Yes.
What are the scarabees?
I'm not sure if it sounds like a disease. It's not scabies, is it?
No, I don't know. We don't know.
Scabies used to be very popular. It's a horrible disease of the skin.
Popular's probably not the word to use.
Well, popular. It was popular with scabies. Scabies was very pleased.
Prevalent.
It was skin disease. All your skin would flake and go all horrible. Scabies.
Can't remember what caused that. Isn't it fleas or something?
Yeah,
Spread
no,
by fleas
I
or
think it's
mites or something?
Yes, it's an insect. I think it burrows under your skin.
That's right. I think, yes, it does. Yeah.
Lives under there.
Oof.
Lovely.
It's making me itch, Mr. Duncan, just thinking about
There's
it.
a television programme on at the moment, and it's Monster in My Body, it's called. And it's pretty awful.
Is it a tapeworm?
It's all these. No, it's worse than that. It's worse. Tapeworm living in your stomach is nothing on this show. They actually pull things that are living inside people's ears and in their brain.
What's living inside your brain?
Well, apparently lots of things can. They can crawl into your ear, lay their eggs, and then 20 years later, you start getting headaches. And when they examine your skull, they find that it's full of worms, and they have to pull them out one by one, and then they film it for our entertainment. It's disgusting.
Look, what are they? Are they breeding in there? What are they doing? What are they living off? Sucking the blood out of you or something?
Yes, I think they are. That's what they're doing.
Tapeworms are pretty disgusting.
They're
They're good if you want to lose weight. By the way, yeah, don't forget the surgery. Forget weight loss surgery. Just get a tapeworm, because you will definitely lose weight, and they can live in symbiosis inside you, and you can feed it, and it's probably a bit uncomfortable. I don't know, but they're good for weight loss.
Sounds awful.
Yeah.
Please do.
Well, some people, I know that people have done that to lose weight.
So they actually put a worm inside their
deliberately
body on purpose.
Infect themselves with a tapeworm.
That's disgusting.
By eating some, I don't know, licking the soil or something.
Yes.
I'm not sure where you get tapeworms from. It comes out of, it's feces related to animals, isn't it?
This is not the road I was.
The eggs are in feces of animals, so I think you go around eating some cow dung.
Okay.
So that's my weight loss.
Can I just say now, just to cover us from any legal action, we are not encouraging anyone to go out and eat poop off the pavement. So please don't do that. But I think you can get it from dogs. Dogs and cats is mainly where people get it.
The scarabees, by the way, are a type of insect that reproduces in cow poop.
Yes.
So people are using your word now.
I think it's scabies. I think that's where it comes from.
don't know. We don't know.
Oh,
but,
no, I'm not saying I do know, but
Yeah.
that sounds like those two things connect. I didn't say I know.
Yeah.
I didn't say I know. I said it sounds like it. You can think of something without it being necessarily true, but it seems to connect. So don't worry. There we go. How's that? Above and below is what we are talking about today, Mr. Steve.
Okay. Right. Not above and beyond,
Not above and beyond.
which is a different thing altogether.
That's more of a direction.
If you go above and beyond, it means you do more than is expected of you, doesn't it, Mr. Duncan?
Beyond, of course, is very far away. So if you go above and beyond, it means you are doing something that is more than you need.
Mr. Duncan has
to do.
gone
Okay, his sentence was
above
ending.
and beyond in his production of English teaching lessons. So he's done more than you would expect.
Yes.
I mean, that's not true, obviously.
We are breaking down the barriers.
Are we?
We are. I keep saying that. Why do you question that? We are. Someone said last week, we had a lovely comment, and this is the problem with Steve. He never looks at the comments. He never reads the comments under my videos. We had a lovely
I'm
message.
looking at the live stream.
We had a lovely message come through on one of the comments saying how great it is to join us because we have fun here. We have fun. We have games. We have lots of interesting conversation. Very different, very lively. Sometimes funny as well, especially when Mr. Steve says something. A lot of people, they roll around on the floor laughing. So it's nice to have something that's positive and fun for a change. So that's what we do, you see. So thank you very much for your lovely comments. And I do read them. I read them. He doesn't. He never looks.
Well, I don't look at things after they've gone. Well, it's your channel. You would look at the comments. Why would I look?
Well,
I'm
because
looking at the live stream.
You might be amazed how often you are mentioned in the messages.
Well, I'm not the sort of person who needs to have his ego boosted
and sometimes
by looking at comments.
and
I don't
sometimes
think
and sometimes those comments are complimentary. Sometimes,
so. Thank you.
yeah. Sometimes they say nice things about
Well,
you.
you tell me anyway. So, but thank you for your lovely comments that you make after the live stream, and we will endeavour to continue to produce content that is worthy of you.
Yes. Well, I like to think that we do push the boundaries or break the boundaries because there is so much stuff on YouTube. So I think it's good to find something. And when you do find us, by the way, you have you have discovered the best kept secret on YouTube. Us. No, it's true. You are now part of an exclusive club, being here with all the other English addicts.
Just want to correct the spelling of the word feces. I believe there's an A in there somewhere. I think it's F-A-E, isn't it? Feces.
Yes, I think you might find in American English it's spelt differently.
It might well be.
Yes.
But in British English, I think it's F-A-E-C-E-S.
Yes.
But, thank you for that technical term. Poop is the word Mr. Duncan uses, and other people have cottoned on to that. The technical term is feces.
Poop.
But yes,
Poop.
at least in British English, we would spell it F-A-E-C.
Oh, okay. I think you've just told us that.
I know, but I'm just repeating it because,
Right. Yes. They could always just rewind, you see.
talking of feces, that's what happened to me about 10 minutes before we went on live today. I am I would say about 1.5 pounds lighter now than I was 10 minutes before the live stream. But anyway, we won't go into that. Well, as usual, today's live stream has branched off into all sorts of different directions.
I was going to mention my new health regime as well that started on Monday. I'm now having my big bowl of hot porridge in the morning. So every morning since Monday, I know it's only Wednesday, and I'm also having a walk every day, and I feel good. I feel better already. It's strange, isn't it? I could already feel the difference. I feel like my insides are thanking me. They are saying, thank you, Mr. Duncan, for taking care of us after all of those months of neglect.
Number 2, yes, is another way of describing it. Yeah, well, I'm going to, normally at this point, I would ridicule Mr. Duncan and take the mickey, but I'm not going to because I want him to stay on his health regime
Yes.
or regimen, as you would call it in America, and just not say anything. I'm saying nothing. I'm just going to let Mr. Duncan do it in his own time, in his own way. I'm not going to ridicule and laugh and take the mickey.
Not like you normally do.
No, I'm going to resist because that might put you off.
Yes. Well,
Maintaining this healthy lifestyle.
You are very good at discouraging me.
Well, it's just nice to have. Well, you do the same to me. We always take the mickey out of each other.
We make fun of each other. One of the things about knowing each other for over 33 years, I still can't believe that, by the way. We've known each other for over 33 years. We met each other in the 1980s. So our relationship began in the 1980s when everything was so different. It was all different. It's very different.
See, if I'd murdered somebody in 1980, I'd have been out of prison by now.
Yes, you don't even get that. You don't get that for murder. If you murder someone, you only go to prison for about 15 years. I don't know what this is then.
Pedro
I don't know what crime we've committed.
wants to see all my personal belongings. Clothes, jewellery, books, domestic utensils.
There was no jewellery.
There's no jewellery. No, I'm not into jewellery.
We're not into glittering things.
I haven't got any jewellery all.
I don't have any jewellery.
No jewellery.
No.
None.
So
Zilch.
if there are any thieves or robbers or burglars watching, we have no jewellery.
I do have my father's wedding ring.
Okay, that's probably...
So I do have that, but I don't wear it. I've never worn. I don't like jewellery. I don't like rings and necklaces and bracelets. I find them annoying. I'm always conscious of them. I just want to get. It's the same with watches. I don't like. I must be very sensitive.
Yeah,
Mr.
I've
Duncan.
noticed
My
that.
skin is very sensitive.
I've noticed you don't wear watches because you never wear the one I bought you.
I do wear it, but I can't wear it all the time. It annoys me. And jewellery annoys me when it's on me. And I know people, too many people that wear wedding rings, and
Anyway,
they've had their fingers ripped off.
Yeah. Well, how many people do you know who've had that happen?
Well, at least 2, and I know of other incidences where people know of other people where, they get. I know somebody was playing tennis
Anyway.
and their finger got ripped off. It is.
Well, yeah. Is this story going anywhere?
No, I'm just saying. The point is, I'm not keen on jewelry. Some people like. I don't like earrings.
So you
They
don't
will annoy me.
You don't wear rings just in case your finger gets ripped off. But
Well, it could
I
happen.
suppose earrings. They're the ones that always look vulnerable. And can you believe it? During the early 1990s, I had an earring.
He did.
I did.
He did have an earring. Yes.
For about 6, maybe 5 or 6 years, I had an earring. Don't ask which ear it was, because I can't remember. I think it was this ear. I'm sure it was this one. Or was it this one? I can't remember now. I can't remember. Of course, nowadays, men don't really wear jewellery. You don't see men wearing gold rings and things anymore. It always looks a bit too ostentatious. So I don't think they do it anymore. You don't see many men wearing lots of jewellery. And when they do, it looks a little ostentatious. It looks very garish.
I don't think you see many women wearing jewellery, not as much as they used to, say in the 80s and 90s. I seem to remember women used to wear a lot of jewellery, not so much. Perhaps jewellery is going out of fashion.
I think delicate jewellery is very popular. But I think the ostentatious jewellery that looks like you're showing off and being extravagant, I think a lot of that has disappeared. Maybe it's also for safety as well.
Yes, could be.
If you're walking down the road with lots of, I think they call it drip. Did you know that?
I didn't.
It is the street slang for jewellery. You have drip. So when you have drip, it means the gold is literally dripping off you because you are wearing lots of jewellery. Yes. Mr. Duncan, you are very cool in down.
Pedro used to sell fake Rolex watches.
I can believe that.
That's what we would. You've used the word copy. We would probably say fake.
Yes. No, you can use copy.
Yeah, you can, but normally, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's
Yes.
it. If you earn a living from that, why not?
Of course, my favourite word, if something is fake, you can say that it is counterfeit. I like that word. I think it's derived from French and not original. I think it comes from that. It is against the original or against the original version. So the counterfeit, the fake Rolex. I think a lot of people wear fake watches or fake jewellery. The only problem is you might get beaten up or robbed in the street, even if you are wearing plastic or fake jewellery. So that's the only problem. So you might not spend much money on your jewellery, but you still might be robbed or attacked, or even worse.
Parissa says, hello, Parissa. I think a necklace makes a man look very attractive. And it can. Yes, it can. I mean, you see some people, sometimes an earring. Do you remember Bros, the pop group Bros? They used to wear earrings and it looked attractive. There is something sometimes attractive about somebody. If they've got a certain look, if they've got the hair and the clothes to go with it, it can look attractive. But of course, I mean, culturally now, it's more acceptable for men to wear jewellery. But when I grew up in the sort of 70s, if men wore jewellery, you would be instantly described as being, well, you know, slang words for... You can imagine what you'd be called.
I don't actually know what you're on about.
Oh, look at that puff.
Oh,
He's wearing jewellery.
I don't think so.
They did in the 1970s.
I think,
Not now they wouldn't.
I think men
They did.
wearing medallions or jewellery, I think in certain cultures, maybe street culture, maybe urban culture, maybe black culture, that sort of thing, jewellery has always been a big part of the trend. I think so.
But if you
But
used to...
I think generally speaking, I think jewellery is less common.
When I grew up, if men had to be men. You know, you couldn't. I mean, I remember my parents being aghast. Aghast. There's a good word for you. I mean, shocked.
A word that literally no one uses anymore.
Aghast.
If you are aghast or aghast,
It means you're shocked. Look at that. Of men with long hair.
Yeah.
In the 70s, it was the trend to have men to grow their hair longer. I remember my parents, but particularly my father, saying, look at that. Look at that. Why did you cut your hair? Cut your hair, he used to say to people. I mean, I never had long hair.
no.
But
Well,
I
you
was
don't
too
have to worry.
frightened.
You don't have to worry about that anymore.
Yes,
And
well,
nor,
I'm...
and nor do I.
But they did. If you wore long hair, men with jewellery, unless you looked like a man, you were immediately labelled as being gay, and on all the phrases that you would call all the names under the sun.
Puff. Queer.
Whereas now, it doesn't matter. Imagine if we were growing up now. Imagine
Uphill gardener. I never understood that one. I don't understand uphill gardener.
Yes. Oh no, not fake.
Batty
A
boy.
first copy,
Oh,
what's-
batty boy. That's a good one. I think that's another black slang word. If you're a batty boy, it means you're gay. Very nice. How friendly.
Christina doesn't like jewellery in a man. No, it's down to personal taste.
No, that's it.
Isn't it? Maybe on Sunday, maybe I'll wear a necklace
No, I wouldn't.
because I've got lots of stage jewellery,
Yes.
which I wore particularly in The King and I when I was the king.
I thought we had no jewellery.
I know, but that's for stage use.
Is it just plastic?
No, it's metal. I mean, it's not gold. Obviously, it's like copper or something, or plated.
Obviously, we would have sold it a long time ago.
Well, if we have a break, I'll go and fetch one and put it on and see what people think.
I don't.
No, maybe Sunday. I'll save it for Sunday.
We'll do that Sunday when we're talking about wealth, you see, because it will fit with that. So we are looking at wealth and poverty on Sunday because Mr. Steve said so. So that's what we're doing.
Palmyra suggested it.
Yes, it's a good idea. I like it. I like it a lot. Yes.
Well, Mr. Duncan, so we're talking about not above and below.
Yes, things that can be related to being high up above or deep down below. All of that coming in a few moments. We'll have a quick break and then we will come back and we will talk about these things. So please, whatever you do today, don't go away. Lovely cows, aren't they lovely? They are so lovely. They really are. English Addict is here today, every Wednesday and Sunday. You know the time, 2 p.m. UK time is when we're here with you.
Don't forget to like Mr. Duncan's video, please, this live stream, because then other people will see this, because that's how YouTube, the number of likes, you get more likes, it gets sent out by YouTube into more parts of the world due to its algorithm. We don't know how it works, but lots of likes means more people see Mr. Duncan.
Yes.
And therefore his channel will live on for longer.
When you do this, you see, it counts as approval. So it means a viewer has approved of that content. And the more of these you get, the more approval YouTube will then give you. So it's a very simple system, actually, with those algorithms. So please give us a lovely like. Give a like to Mr. Steve and myself, and we'll say thank you very much. Like that.
Where is it, Mr. Duncan? Where is the like? Somewhere down here somewhere.
Hello. Please, can you give him a like? I will send you a knighthood. Yes, and don't mention my bloody son. Please don't mention him.
Which one?
He's a pain in the arse.
It's Prince Charles.
Our king would never speak that way. Well,
He
not in
would.
public
No, he
anyway.
does swear. Apparently, King Charles swears a lot.
Everybody does.
He said, well, there you go.
But not in public.
No, he has. He swore in public.
That bloody man. He said that.
Could you move away that bloody ink? I hate doing this bloody job.
So he's very well known for swearing. And don't forget also his father used to swear a lot. I remember that he was having a photograph taken with some other people. And he says, just take the effing photograph. And that was the Duke of Edinburgh,
right.
That lovely old man. Can you imagine him saying that? But look it up. It's on the internet. The internet never forgets. It's true. Reham is going. Hopefully see you again on Sunday. We are back on Sunday. Today we are looking at some very interesting words and phrases connected to going above and below. You might be above something. A lot of people say when they talk about heaven or maybe God, they often look up. And when they think about evil things and wicked things, they look down.
You mean hell?
Hell. So heaven is up there. Hello. And down there is the fiery pit of hell.
Which, when you think about it on a sort of scale of the universe, doesn't make sense, does it?
I don't know.
Well, it doesn't, because when you're looking up millions of miles up. into the universe, and when you're looking down, you're looking down. There is no up and down in space, is there?
No, but
Doesn't actually makes sense.
But what I like is the centre of the earth is like hell. So I always like that sort of that reference, because when you do look down, you actually are looking down towards a fiery pit, because the centre of the earth is just liquid lava, magma. I love that word.
Of course, people didn't. Yeah. Anyway, right. Yes.
No, but that's the simplest use. We often look up at things and we look down. I wonder where I'm going. Do you think I'm going to heaven or hell? I think I'm going down there, actually.
Depends whether you believe in that, Mr. Duncan.
Yeah, I think I'm going to hell. A lot of people used to say that. You say, Mr. Duncan, go to hell. So above and below, things that are higher than something, we often say above. So we think of higher things, things that are up, things that are above. So higher than something is above, and of course lower than something is below. Above, higher than, below, lower than. So that's the simplest way of expressing those words. So above can be used as an adverb, Mr. Steve, in its simple sense when we are talking about the location of something, in a very simple form of sentence. My friend lives in the apartment above. So you can see here that we are using it as an adverb. We are saying that that's where he is. That's where he inhabits. My friend lives in the apartment above. We can also say below as an adverb. My friend lives in the apartment below. So again, you are giving the position and you are also expressing how that person lives and where they are at the same time. We can also say above as a preposition, and a lot of people like prepositions. You might be surprised how often we use them in English. I think they are quite common. Other than maybe nouns, we do use prepositions quite often. So maybe the position of something, the way something is positioned, or the place that it is. For example, above can be used in this way. The keys are hanging above the light switch. So you are stating that is the position of them, which is, of course, when we use prepositions.
Right, okay.
Below, of course, can also be used as a preposition. The keys are hanging below the cupboard. So again, you are showing the location, but also you are saying the position, the exact position. And of course, we often use prepositions to help people find something. So I always imagine that if you are searching for something, quite often we will give instructions based on the location of other things. And quite often, the relation between one thing and another. And that's why we use prepositions. And we do use them quite a lot. Above can also be used as an adjective as well. So this is unusual. And even in the dictionary, they often put this separately. So when they're describing the meaning of above, they often use this or put it separately in another section. So above as an adjective means the above information, for example, must be memorized. It's something you've already discussed, something you've already talked about, maybe a topic you've already talked about recently. So the above information must be memorized. It is a thing you've already talked about, so you are referring back to it, a topic that has already been discussed. I'm sure you've been in many meetings, Steve, where people have done that. You've read something, looked at something, and then they refer back to that thing. They refer to it as the above passage, or
the above information.
The above information.
Please read the above.
So it's a very interesting moment where we are using above as an adjective. And of course, high up is above, far down is below. So we say something is high up if it is at a very high position, maybe high up in the sky or far down beneath the ground.
The balloon is high up in the sky, or the aeroplane is high up in the sky.
And the miners are digging the coal far down beneath the earth, far down. So high up, far down can just mean the general direction as well, upwards and downwards, high up or far down. Here we go. Phrases now, Mr. Steve. Above all. You might use the phrase above all to mean the highest, the best, or maybe the most important. So maybe you are talking about a certain subject and you want to highlight the most important thing. Above all, maybe the secrets to learning English. You might ask, Mr. Duncan, how do we learn English successfully? I might say you need patience, you need time, but above all, you need to give yourself a chance to learn. Don't give up. And I think that's quite a common thing when you are giving a list of things that must be remembered. And when we talk about the most important thing, we use above all, the highest thing, the best thing, or the most important thing. And again, I'm sure you've had this done to you, Mr. Steve, in the past, when we're talking about the things that are the most important of all.
Yes, that's it. Yes, somebody describes a list of things and then they say, above all, remember this point. You could be at a meeting, and it could be a sales meeting, for example, and if you're in, or an office meeting, and they're talking about lots of ways of attracting new customers, maybe, and they might say, above all, remember that the customer is always right, for example.
Yes.
Whatever. Above all, remember the customer's always right.
That's a good one.
Because the customer's always right in sales, aren't they? Because
yes.
that's always the phrase that's used.
Yes, it's a good way of stressing the most important thing of all.
You're saying the most important thing is this when you use the phrase above all.
So quite often we will use above to mean a better standard or maybe better quality. So above is often used when we are talking about something that is good or better than good. It is above the standard. It is a better standard. It is high quality. Or when we are comparing two things, you might say that is above what we expect. It is much better than what we wanted. And of course, the opposite. You can have a worse standard below. So something that is not as good as you want it to be. Something that is not as high a quality as you actually want it. So you can use above and below in both of those ways. So you might say something is below par. I'm sure you've heard of that expression, Mr. Steve.
I have, yes. It just means something the standard is lower than it should be. The tennis match was below par. Was not as good as you would expect. Or the football game. I went and watched Chelsea and Man United playing at Wembley Stadium, but the quality of the football was below par. It was not as good as you would expect. I think that term might come from golf.
I think it's also from the standard. So your par is your normal standard or the average standard.
Yes.
So the average thing is what you expect.
So in golf, they always say, you know, a hole has a certain par, doesn't it? Which means that the average.
I don't know.
Yes, that's right. So a certain, I don't know, one of the hole, you have to be able to get the golf ball into the hole in so many goes. So might be 4. is 4 is the par for that particular hole on the golf course. So if you don't get it in 4, which is what most people do, then you're below par. If you get it in 3 or 2, then you're above par, and that's how they measure success in golf, isn't it?
Yes,
It's all
but
about.
so I think in general terms it means a poor performance or less than average,
Yeah.
less than what is expected is below par. So it's quite good, and we do use this quite often. I think you might find in business or maybe in manufacturing where you are doing something, maybe the performance of the company hasn't been as good as it was last year. They might say our performance, our profits are below par.
below
Less.
what's expected, or par for the course. If you use the phrase par for the course, it means it's just average. So somebody's, if you, I used to be in sales, so if you just came in on your target, what was expected, you would just say that during that year, I was on par. I was doing what was expected, nothing more, nothing less. And that's they use that in golf to describe how many hits of the ball you need to take before you get it in the hole. And every hole is different, of course, isn't it? Some are further away, so they take more hits, and others are closer.
It's either
more
called, I think it's a
difficult.
shot, isn't it? Is it a shot or a swing?
Yes.
I think that's what they call it when you hit the golf ball. I'm not a golfer. Can you tell? Above suspicion, you can be above suspicion if you are always presumed to be innocent. You are above suspicion. Maybe a person who has a very good character. I would say that you are a bit like that, Mr. Steve. Mr. Steve would always be above suspicion. If maybe you worked in a small environment, maybe an office, and then things were going missing, and they might think, I wonder if Mr. Steve keeps stealing all of that food from the fridge. But then someone will say, no, I don't think Mr. Steve would do that. We can say that you are above suspicion because you have such a good character. So a person who is always presumed to be innocent, that person is presumed to be not guilty or innocent without being questioned at all. So you can be above suspicion. It means you are
Because of your character.
so wonderful.
And because people have known you for a long time, they know that you're not dishonest, or they know that you don't commit crimes and things.
Yes.
Usually someone would have to know you for a long time. And we've had some food's been stolen from our fridge. You might say, well, did Tony do it? And it's, oh no, Tony's above suspicion.
Yes. Or was it
He's
Mr. Steve?
Because he's never done that before. So
Mr. Steve would never steal anything. But as they say, looks can be deceptive. Never judge a book by its cover. You might be pleasantly surprised or
Claudia's going.
you might be pleasantly surprised or shocked. And finally, you might be above the law. A person who behaves in a way where they think that they can't be punished. They are not punishable. You can't punish that person. They are above the law. They carry out their own justice. They think that the police and all of the laws connected to the country don't apply to them. They are above the law. And sometimes this happens as well. People do behave in a way where they think that the rules of the law don't apply to them. So they believe they are above the law. A person who behaves lawlessly.
And you often use that phrase. Well, who do you think? Do you think you're above the law? In other words, it doesn't necessarily. It can mean just sort of rules as well, rules in the workplace or something like that. Do you think you're above the law? You can't behave like that. You know. Do you think you're just going to get away with it? You're not above the law.
It is a good way of saying to someone, "Be careful. You are not above the law."
Yes.
So you can use it also as a warning towards someone if you believe they are maybe doing things they shouldn't, you can say, look, you will be punished one day. You are not above the law. And that, as they say, is that. I was going to show you a photograph of Madonna, but we will do that on Sunday.
Another phrase I've thought of, Mr.
Oh.
Duncan, is about being above.
Mm-hmm.
You can say that you're above it all, can't you?
Ah, yes.
If you say that say there's gossip going on in the office
Mm-hmm.
or with the neighbours, and then somebody asks you a question about a particular person they're gossiping about, and you might say, I'm sorry, I'm no comment, I'm above all that.
Mm.
So what you're indicating is that you are better than them in terms of the way you think.
Mm.
You're not going to lower yourself to their level.
Mm.
If you lower yourself down to somebody else's level, then maybe those people are not very nice people. They're always gossiping. They're always being nasty to other people. And you won't lower yourself down to their level.
Yes.
You're above it all. You're I'm trying to think of the phrase I'm thinking of.
Your standards are higher than theirs.
Yes.
Your standards are much higher than theirs. So those people who like to gossip and talk about other people and but you are not like that because you are above it all. You have a much higher standard of
Yes.
behaviour.
Yes, and you wouldn't lower yourself to get involved in those kind of trivial conversations. And it could be gossip, it could be all sorts of things.
So we will be back on Sunday. 2 p.m. UK time is when we're back with you. So don't forget, we are back with you on Sunday. We are talking about wealth and poverty. Being wealthy, being rich, having lots of money. Also, we are looking at something that happened here in the UK this week. Something that was expected to be a historic moment, but it unfortunately turned into a damp squib. We'll be talking about that on Sunday.
Here's another one from Amit
Okay.
about punching above your weight.
Yes.
Did we mention that?
No, we didn't mention it.
Yeah. If you punch above your weight, it means, again, you're doing more than people would expect you to do.
Yes.
The indication being that there could be a small person in the boxing ring in a fight with a larger person, but the smaller person wins, or at least doesn't get knocked out very quickly. They're doing more than they expect. Punching above your weight. And because people might have judged you beforehand, and they might think, oh, they're not going to be very good at that. And then they suddenly do well at it, and you're punching above your weight. You're doing more than people would expect you to do.
We often say that to a man when he's trying to get a girlfriend. Maybe he sees a girl, and she's beautiful like a model from a magazine. But the man is quite plain looking. And they might say, oh, you have no chance with that girl. You are definitely punching above your weight.
Yes.
You are trying to pursue something that is out of your field. It is something that you probably won't be able to get or won't be able to do.
Yeah, so that phrase can be used in a positive way, but can also be used in a negative way as well.
So we are definitely going, as I said, we are back on Sunday from 2 p.m. UK time. And we will see you then. I hope you have a good rest of your week.
No, thank you, Amit. We want. There's no, we like these. We like people to put their suggestions forward. This is what we love the live chat about.
It's not a problem. So we will see you on Sunday. Don't forget 2 p.m. UK time. I always mention the time because a lot of people still ask. Can you believe it? People still ask, Mr. Duncan, what time do you do your live streams? It is always the same time. To make it easier, 2 p.m. UK time is when we're here with you. And we will be back with you on Sunday. So thanks for your company. And all I have to say now, on behalf of Mr. Steve and myself, thank you very much for watching. And we will see you on Sunday from 2 p.m. UK time is when we're back with you. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up as well before you go. And of course, until the next time we meet here, you know what's coming next. Are you ready, Mr. Steve?
I'm ready.
Oh, until the next time we meet. Ta-ta for now.